How's it going? Welcome to the workshop. For my first video on this channel, I'm going to make a wooden longsword for a local community art show. I'm going to take you through the whole process and we're going to see how it turns out. Let's do it.
When searching for inspiration pictures, this one really stood out to me. This will be the inspiration for my design. Let's get building. First, I need to make my template. I tape several pieces of paper together to get a very long piece of paper. Then, using a ruler and straight edge, I essentially start freestyling. I try to capture the general vibe of my inspiration. I use a curved cut of paper to make sure that the part above the hilt is symmetrical. I use the same technique to ensure the symmetry of the tip. Once my template is done, I cut it out. For the actual sword, I'm using a piece of flooring wood. First, I trace my template onto it. I cut off the excess before cutting out the blade. The base of the blade ended up a little bit asymmetrical, so I had to correct it. I use a table router to round out the sides and give it a more sharpened look. To do the tip, I need to use the grinder. To give it some flair, I make two detail pieces out of wooden stir sticks. I sand off the blade and glue them on. To make my hilt, I first make the hole where the blade part goes through. Then I draw the design and cut it out. I trace and cut out small divots. To add some details to the hilt, I make two wing-like pieces. I drill holes in both the main piece and the wing pieces. I take some nails and cut them short. These nails are glued inside the wing pieces to give them extra strength as they're both attached. The handle is pretty simple. It's just a piece of PVC pipe cut in half lengthwise, and then the pieces are sanded down. To make the pommel, I freehand a template based on a game I used to play. Then I trace it out on a thicker piece of wood along with two rectangles. These will make sense in the next step. The main piece is cut out, as are the two rectangles. Everything is then smoothed out. All three pieces are glued together and sanded flush. The cross section of the handle is traced on top, and a larger ring is added. The corners are cut off, and the top is sanded around that larger ring. At the end of the handle, a small tab is cut out and then rounded. A corresponding hole is drilled in the top of the pommel for attachment. To put everything together, the hilt is first glued on. Then the handle pieces are glued on. Using a Dremel tool, I make pilot holes in both pieces, and then screw them in. Glue is applied to the bottom, and the pommel is fit on. Time for painting. First, a base coat of black to make the other layers look better. Next is obviously silver. I tried to use acrylic paint to give the hilt and pommel a different shade of silver than the blade. To make the blade look used, I mix water and black paint to make something called blackwash. This is applied to the whole sword, then dabbed off with a paper towel, giving me the weathered look I want. The problem with blackwash is that the paint is watered down, so it comes off very easily. To fix this, a generous amount of clear coat is required. For the last step, the handle is wrapped with electrical tape. Then with a long strip of black leather. The reason for the tape is so that if there are any small gaps in the wrapping, they will still look black. The bit of leftover leather is cut into 2 small strips and then superglued on as rings on both ends of the handle. And we're done.
In the end, I'm really happy with how it turned out. Looks really nice, and I'm proud of it. Thank you very much for watching. Hope you enjoyed. Hope you learned something. Have a wonderful day. Peace.